Well, hello, happy Friday. I want to welcome everyone to the latest edition of LCG or Leadership Coach Group Open Coaching Series. This webinar is titled Success Ahead, Crafting Your 2025 Vision and Goals. We'll be starting in just a few minutes, but we saw some people already joining us, which is fantastic. If you've signed in, we'd love you to put into the chat where you're calling in from, like your city, and we'd love to hear from you. So if you could just enter in the chat before we officially kick off, just let us know where you're calling in from. We're so glad to have you joining us. Hello, happy Friday. My name is Michael Seelman. I'm the CEO of a Leadership Coach Group, and I want to welcome everyone to the latest edition of our webinar series, the Leadership Coach Group Open Coaching. This is something we offer to our community for free. And this latest edition, today's webinar, is entitled Success Ahead, Crafting Your 2025 Vision and Goals. And I'm really excited to be joined here by my colleagues Rob Followell and Jerry Anathan. And also on our team, we have Carl. She'll be helping us with our PowerPoint presentation and a lot of things behind the scene. So welcome, everyone. If you've joined us, we'd love you to enter into the chat where you're joining us from, like your city, perhaps you're in a different country. We'd love to hear you share that in the chat. Thank you so much for entering that in. I can see that we have someone, Jeff from Detroit. Welcome, Jeff. Thanks for joining us. We have Michelle from Redlands, California. And we have Carl, who's listed as Reva. That's Carl on our team. She's joining us from the Philippines. We have Gerald joining us from Minot, North Dakota. We have Tom from Traverse City, Michigan. We have Rob joining us from the Chicago burbs. Rob, imagine you got some cold weather there in Chicago. It's about to hit us here. I'm in the Washington, D.C. area. We have Amber joining us from California. Joe joining us from Gaithersburg. Joe's right near me. In the DC area in Gaithersburg. And we have Heather from Leander, Texas. Sarah joining us from Sterling, Virginia. Sarah's another one of our fantastic coaches. Sarah, thank you for joining us and being part of our team. We have David from Vancouver, British Columbia. And we have Thomas joining us from France, from the Alps. Thomas, I imagine it's pretty cold in the Alps as well. Thank you for joining us as well. If anyone else would like to share where they're calling in from, that would be terrific. We'd love to hear from you. So, Carl, if we could have the next slide, please. You might be wondering, if this is the first time you're joining us, what's this open coaching all about? Well, we wanted to share coaching with our entire community, the whole leadership development community. And so this is our way of doing it. We showcase our talented team of my colleagues, this time with Rob and Jerry, and we have different themes that we pick every month. We do this the first Friday of every month at noon Eastern time, and we try to pick themes that might be on your mind. So last month in December, we talked about end of the year reflection. This month in January, we're talking about setting your vision and goals for 2025. Next month, which is the month of Valentine's Day and thinking about the heart, we're going to be focusing on emotional intelligence and leading with heart as a leader of an organization. So we have themes every month that we try to match with what might be on your minds. I try to provide actionable insights of things that you can take and implement right away. And to help you with that, we have a detailed guide every time called a playbook, which Carl came up with that term, by the way. Great job, Carl. That is helps you step by step. We're going to whet your appetite with these presentations. We're going to help you with the most critical steps. And then we have a guide that can help you in the quiet of your own space, in your office, your home, to go through the steps, each one in detail, and giving you reflection questions. What we try to do here is to introduce new concepts and also provide some coaching to a volunteer. So I encourage you, if you're on with us, think about volunteering. You can get some free coaching from our two talented coaches here, Rob and Jerry. So to dive into the playbook that you will get right after this webinar, you'll get both this access to this playbook and these slides. Don't worry, you'll have these slides available to you. But this playbook on vision and goals will give you some mapping tools of how to create your vision. Rob will be talking about that, but you'll also have it in more detail in our playbook. We'll have a wheel of life assessment that we'll be discussing in this webinar, but also have a blank one that you can fill out yourself when after the webinar. We'll also give you some prompts so you can reflect more as you go through this process. We'll have some strategic goal setting frameworks, and we'll have some advice about how to track progress and make sure you stay on track. Now, there's 7 steps that as a company, we think it's important for you to use as you set your vision and goals and you keep your progress tracking towards your vision and goals. And those 7 steps are outlined, as I mentioned, in the playbook, and they'll reflect on where you stand. So as you think about the future, you got to know where you are right now. The second step is to define your 2025 vision and goals. And then as you have that vision, you want to set SMART goals that are achievable. We're going to be covering those in the presentation from Rob and Jerry, those first 3 steps. The next 4 steps will be more detailed in the guide, and perhaps will come out in the coaching that Rob and Jerry provide. Those are to build systems for success, to make sure you stay on track, to help you overcome obstacles, to reflect and adjust regularly as you run into some turbulence along the way, how you can readjust your course to stay on track. And then as you do this, you can lead with purpose and be transparent and share with others how this process is working for you, and so you can share that message with others. So those are all the overall 7 steps that are covered in our playbook. Now, if you'd like some help, now we've designed this webinar and the playbook to help you to do it yourself. But we are happy to help you if you want some additional services to help you, and that would be our one-on-one coaching. And because you've joined us live, you have access to schedule a one-on-one appointment with Rob or with Jerry free. No cost at all. No cost to the webinar and no cost for this one session. In addition to that, you could say, hey, I love what Rob has shared with me, or Jerry is providing me this incredible insights. I want to keep working with them. We can make that happen. So that's our one-on-one coaching offer. Or perhaps there's someone on your team that you think could benefit from one-on-one coaching. We have Rob, Jerry, and we have 18 other coaches that can support you as well. And so that's our one-on-one coaching. We also have things that can support your team in general, team effectiveness. So that's leadership assessments, inspirational speakers, facilitate retreats. And we have assessments that can help you in the one-on-one coaching or kind of see where your team is in general. So those are kind of broad overview of the services we provide. And our coaches are very experienced. They're veteran coaches. Our coaches has helped Fortune 500 corporations such as Oracle, Dropbox, Microsoft, SAP, Sony, Google, Facebook, you name it. We've coached leaders at very major companies. Sometimes we get the questions of, can you coach me? I'm a small business owner, or I'm a medium-sized company. Can you serve us? Yes, we can. We don't put those brands up because they aren't as globally recognized as these brands. So we serve anywhere from small companies up to global companies. Now, as I mentioned, within just a couple of minutes of ending this webinar, you'll get a follow-up email that will have access to the playbook I mentioned, to the slides from this presentation, and links to schedule free coaching sessions with Rob and Jerry. So I encourage you to take advantage of all those resources. In addition, feel free to forward the playbook and the presentation to any colleagues that you want. We'd love you to share it. Our goal, our mission as a leadership coach group company is to advance the practice of leadership. And so you sharing that resources will help us in that mission and help people with performance, happiness, and fulfillment. So I'd like to say a little bit about our coaches. They're going to be introducing themselves, but I think so much of them. Rob and Jerry are 2 of our founding members of our company. So Rob, Jerry, and some of our colleagues, we got together and we formed a leadership coach group because we understand the power of synergy in serving you. There's so much more that we can do a lot as individuals, and we can do so much more as a team. And so Rob and Jerry helped found our leadership coach group together. Rob, you'll hear, he's been an amazing CEO. In fact, one of his former employees is now one of our team members at the leadership coach group. And I hear from her how amazing he was. I didn't get to know him when he was the CEO of a hospital, but I have the privilege of working with him now. And I've heard his incredible background and his experience as leading many healthcare organizations. So you'll hear Rob pull from his experience there, and he'll tell you more about that. One thing he might not mention is he was also the lead singer of a rock band at the same time he was a CEO of a hospital. I think that's the coolest thing, and sometimes I've gotten to hear him sing. So he has just that stage presence, and he leads our training team too. So if you ever need training from us, it's probably Rob that will come out and deliver that for us. And Jerry's someone I've the privilege of knowing a long time. She got her master's degree recently from Harvard University, and she and I got to do a lot of webinars together at the beginning of the pandemic. So I think you'll see she brings a great addition to a team of presenters. She's also an expert in psychological safety. Whenever I need to do psychological safety assessments and team coaching, I turn to Jerry for helping me in doing those activities. So Jerry, thank you for that. And now I want to turn it over to them. Just sit back and enjoy and engage with Rob and Jerry.
Thanks, Michael. Rob, would you like to introduce yourself? You want to start?
Yeah, sure. I don't know that I can do a better job at introducing myself. That was a pretty good job, and I truly appreciate that. As Michael said, I have a 25-year career as a hospital executive, and left that about 7 years ago to become a coach, doing the things that I love to do most, which is helping other people to grow and be the best that they can be. So one of the things that Michael didn't tell you is I come from a family of 5, and I have 5 kids of my own. So I'm quite proud of them. There's a 21-year difference between my youngest and oldest. My oldest is 35 and my youngest is 14. So how's that? Back to you, Jerry.
Thank you. I love that story. So my name is Geraldine Anathan. My friends and colleagues call me Jerry. I've been coaching leaders and rising leaders for almost a decade. Before that, I had a yoga studio, yoga and fitness meditation studio. So I try to bring a little balance into my own coaching practice. As Michael mentioned, I do have a master's degree in psychology, which I'm fascinated by how the mind works, and it's just one of those things that I'm always passionately interested in learning more. So, even though I got the master's degree later in life, I'm nowhere near done with my education. I'm also certified as a high flow coach. So one of the things I really focused on at Harvard was what we call flow state. You may know a little bit about that, but my goal as a coach is to really help my clients create optimal experiences in their life, in their day-to-day life. So it's not just going on the mountain climb or doing their great vacation. It's how do you take every single day and optimize it so that you, at the end of that day, say, that was an amazing day. And it can really be done. So that's the thing that really inspires me to keep coaching. That being said, we all probably have a few different thoughts going on in our heads right now. Maybe what you're doing after this call, maybe something that fell apart right before you got on this call, something you thought was going to go well that didn't, maybe just something distracting you. So what I would love for us all to do now is just get present. And the way we can do that is just by placing both, if you're sitting down on a chair, place both feet on the floor. And we're just going to simply take an inhale and an exhale. So first, letting all the breath out of the body. And then a long, slow, deep inhale, almost as though you're drawing the breath up from the core of the earth, all the way up into the crown of the head, and hold it. And when you release, you're going to do an audible sigh. Probably no one else can hear you, so just let it go with a big ha sound. Excellent. Okay, so I think you might feel a little more present a little less distracted. So, you know, when we think about planning for example, let's say you're planning for a vacation, you might recall other vacations you've taken in the past in order to make sure you're, you know, doing the right things as you plan this new vacation. Well, it's the same as we look into 2025. We're 3 days in. Think about those 365 days of 2024 and how they impacted your life. So what we want to do really is reflect back for just a short period of time on 2024. And if you weren't with us last month, we really focused on 2024, the art of reflection. But I'm just going to go very briefly over what could be helpful before you jump into big time planning for 2025. So when we look back, there are 3 specific reasons where we want to reflect on past experiences. And they're sort of obvious, but one is that we really learn from the past. So it helps us identify what worked, what didn't work. And by understanding that why, we can really kind of navigate around success, navigate around setbacks, you know, avoid repeating any mistakes that we might have made, and also to just amplify what was really great, what was effective. The second reason is we want to be able to celebrate the wins. So you might think back to some really big wins that you had, but what about those small wins? You know, the time that your relationships worked out really well, or that run you took that just felt really exuberant. You know, it wasn't anything monumental, but it was special to you. It had significance for your own life. So those are things that we can also say, hey, I did a really good job at that. And when we're doing that, you're literally enhancing your neural pathways through neuroplasticity. So we want to reinforce that good stuff and really allow ourselves to kind of relish in the wins, the successes, the things we did wonderfully at. And it's okay to possess that ability to think, hey, I did a really good job. And the third reason is just really clarifying your priorities. So we want to make sure that what we're spending time and energy on is something that's important to us. Those would be your intrinsic values. Of course, there are extrinsic values and motivations, and those are okay. Those are great. But we want to make sure that as we look back, how did we spend our time? How did we spend our energy? How did it feel? We want to optimize those feel-good endorphins, those hormones. And so how do we plan for that to happen? You know, even in the worst of circumstances, we can be present. We can optimize the way we're looking at a challenge, and we want to learn from the past. So all of these things being said, I'd like to talk about a tool that you can use for not only reflecting back, but of course, for also planning ahead to 2025. This tool, you may have seen it before if you've worked with a coach in the past. This is called the Wheel of Life. Others call it Wheel of Personal Perspective. You can call it many things, whatever you'd like. It's a simple tool, but it's also very versatile. And it helps you to evaluate those key areas in your life. It's perfect for reflecting on the past. And again, as I said, for the future. And the way it works is we're just taking that wheel, and Rob is going to talk a little more about this, but we're taking that wheel and dividing it into categories. And these here that we have listed, if you can see those, these are just examples. You might have more, you might have less, you might have vastly different criteria in your life that you're looking at. And what you want to do is rate your satisfaction on this wheel. So you'd make a little dot. For example, if you're super pleased with your finances, you'd make a little dot on the 10 out there. If you're not at all pleased, you'd make something maybe around the 3. And then you'll interconnect, and I'll show you in a minute what a finished wheel looks like. But you know, one of my favorite things to do with these categories is to make even smaller slivers within a category. If you look at health and fitness, for example, I have categories like nutrition, exercise, meditation, therapy, hot and cold therapy, you know, mental health stuff. All, you know, you can create different little categories within. So that's a fun part of this wheel. It's up to you to create how you want to use the wheel. So that's a lot to have said in the last 5 minutes or so. I know it's a lot of information. Could we see the next slide though, Carl? And I'll just show everybody what a finished wheel looks like. So when you first learn about this wheel, you might think, hey, that's not such a bad wheel. If that were a wheel that was, going down the road. It might be a little floppy, but it's okay. You know, our goal is to optimize all of these. And when you take an honest assessment of yourself, it's really helpful to see it as a diagram visually to understand where you might need to focus more in 2025. With that, I'll hand it back to Rob.
Thanks, Jerry. You know, the next step along the way, first off, is just to reflect on and get your kind of baseline. Where are you? You know, if you're thinking about making a trip, you always see that map and you see you are here. The next step is to, where are you trying to go? I love the quote from Alice in Wonderland. If you don't know where you're going, any old road will get you there. And I just got back from 10 days in the Canadian Rockies. And on my trip, I heard this ad that kept popping up on YouTube over and over and over that said, the future will not create itself. You have to. And I want to tweak that just a little bit and say, that's really not true, because if you're still breathing in January of 2026, you will be somewhere. You will have reached a destination. Think about that. If you're still breathing, 2026, you will be somewhere, some destination. The key is that the destination that you want to be? And so really the key for all of us is planning. You know, everything is created twice. I know I see some coaching clients of mine on, and I know they hear this all the time, but everything is created twice. First, it is created in the mind, and then we bring it into reality. And so it is so vitally important for each of us to spend some time in understanding what we want and creating that vision. The greater the detail, the more likely that is to come true. You know, we all know about our five senses. You can ask a 5-year-old what their five senses are, and they can probably name them, but we all have 6 intellectual faculties. Those are for a completely different discussion, maybe at some other time, but I really want to focus for a moment on 2 of those intellectual faculties. And those are memory and imagination. And we can take those 2 and combine them to create a vision of what we want our life to look like, what we want 2025 and beyond to look like. And the way that works is that, you know, any of you who are sports fans, you know that visualization is very important in sports, whether it is watching the ball go through the net before you ever take the shot, or it is, if you're a golfer, which I'm not, but it's imagining and visualizing where the ball's going to go long before you take the swing. And where do you want that to end up? You want to visualize that dropping in the cup, unlike where I go and it's always ending up in the water, probably because I visualized that beforehand. But where your focus goes, your energy is going to flow. And so being able to spend the time understanding where that is that you want to be, so vitally important. And then when we visualize, what we're doing is we are teaching our body to memorize what that's like before it ever happens, so that you build that muscle memory, you build those neural pathways before it ever takes place. So your body knows what it should feel like, what it's going to look like, what it will smell like. And I will tell you that earlier this year, I'm a part of a mastermind, and my mentor asked me to create a vision of where I wanted to go. That vision included me sitting on my expansive deck, looking out over the mountains, this incredible view of the mountains. As a result of that vision, that was in March. Last month, I want you to know that I bought 20.4 acres in the mountains of North Georgia. And I wasn't looking for land. That came to me and my wife. And so we've now closed on that. That's the power of creating the vision that you're looking for. When I left being a hospital CEO and came into this realm as a coach, I discovered a journal that I had written in the mid-90s. And in that journal, the last goal that I had written was the last position that I had as a healthcare executive. And every one of the goals that I had set, I had achieved. There's so much incredible power in visioning and goal setting. So we're going to be talking through that process. And as I said, if you don't know where you're going, congratulations, you've already achieved it. Any old road will get you there. But if you want to achieve the goals and the mission and the vision that you have, the first thing that you have to do is be as concrete as you possibly can. And so let's talk about what that might look like in creating a personal purpose or vision. In your playbook, you're going to have that. But here's an example of what a vision statement might look like. And it's really very simple. It's clear, it's concise. And the great thing is it's uniquely yours. The more, if you share it with other people, it takes on even stronger value because you basically made a statement that this is what I'm all about. But it will align with your core values. That mission, that vision statement that you create is basically your guardrails. So begin by looking at what are some of your values? What are the things that you're strongest in? And where do you want to go? What is it that you want to achieve? Creating that vision statement is incredibly powerful. Napoleon Hill, who's one of my favorite authors, wrote Think and Grow Rich. In The Master Key, he claims that a purpose statement, what he called the definitive purpose, is the starting point for all achievement. It's a strong motivator that will force you to reach the goals that you want and surmount any difficulties that come along the way. So really think about your purpose statement as your navigation system, the goals that you have, and to reach that purpose, the goals that you want to set are those micro steps along the way. As you're thinking about your vision statement, and as you've reflected on 2024, you're moving into 2025, it's so important to set your vision. All of the things that you want to do in SMART goals will then flow down from your vision. And so the tighter you can make that around, you can use this wheel of life as you're planning for the future. So as Jerry mentioned, you have 8 different segments of this. The beautiful thing is you can swap any of these out. Career might not be important for you. It may be something else, but you can make it uniquely yours. And then you can break those down. Those little slivers really then become your goals that you want to set using SMART goals. And so can we go to the slide, or is that in the toolbox? So we won't spend a lot of time on this, but again, you create your vision, and then your SMART goals are the micro steps that are going to help you get there. And one of the things that I want to make sure that you never forget is to take the time to celebrate. You know, so many people push forward towards goals, but they never take the time to look back to see the mountains like the ones behind me, where you've been and the successes that you've had. So you want to be really, the tighter you can get that, the more likely you are to achieve those. You always want to leave some flexibility in there because you're going to set those goals and move forward. But be specific, make them measurable, make them achievable along the way, keep them relevant to your vision. And the more that you can make those time bound, the more likely you are to be able to achieve those. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jerry.
All right. Thank you so much, Rob and Jerry. Really appreciate you guys giving that introduction to setting your vision and goals. And now, as I mentioned at the beginning, we want to invite someone to be coached here live with us. And we have a few guidelines about who might be a good candidate to volunteer. We want you to be ready to turn on your camera and microphone so that our coaches, Rob and Jerry, can see you. It's really important for our coaches to be able to do that to serve you better. We want you to be okay, as this webinar is being recorded. So I want you to be okay being recorded as part of the webinar. And I want you to be ready to engage in a meaningful conversation with our coaches. This is your opportunity to get coached by 2 awesome coaches. So we want you to have that engagement with them. And one of the other things we're asking is that we know some people might be joining us on a mobile device, and that's fine. We found out in our last webinar, it just doesn't work so well at the webinar format. So we'd ask the volunteer be someone that's joining us by a desktop computer or a laptop. So if you'd like to volunteer, we'd encourage you to just raise your hand, use the raise the hand feature, or let us know in the chat that you'd like to volunteer. And we'd love to have a volunteer to be coached. Looks like Rob McGraw volunteered. Saw his hand come up real quick. And we don't have anyone else in the chat yet. So Rob, you were fastest on the buzzer. Might be a little confusing because we'll have two Robs. But if our coach is okay, what we'll do is we'll invite Rob to join us, Rob McGraw, that is, to join us on the camera. And it'll take just a moment, Rob. So hopefully you got good video and audio to be able to join us.
All right, I think I'm here.
All right, Rob, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to our coaches to take the next steps. And what we're trying to do here is demonstrate what coaching is like. Some of us maybe have never had coaching before. So I'll ask Rob and Jerry to let you know what the process is that they're going through, why they're asking us certain questions. And then for those of you that are following along, we want you to be fully engaged. As you hear Rob and Jerry ask Rob questions, we like you to think about those questions too. And then we'll probably give you an opportunity at the end, after Rob and Jerry have asked their questions, one of our webinar participants will give you an opportunity to ask a question that might be helpful to our volunteer. So Rob, Jerry, turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Michael. Hi, Rob. Really nice to meet you.
Morning.
Good morning. Would you like to just maybe introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and maybe a challenge that you're facing?
Yes, happily. My name's Rob McGraw. I'm the CEO of Full Swing Training and Development. We're 4 months old. It's early. The challenge in front of us is growing a business from zero to how big it's going to be. So we have some idea about the products and services we offer today. We're constantly challenged by new opportunities. Should we stop selling services and maybe start selling products? What is the value that a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business could offer to the entirety of the federal government or to the local community? So I feel pulled in many directions at once as I strive to grow this business. And sometimes it makes it hard to focus, hard to prioritize, and hard to measure exactly what I'm getting done, because I feel like I'm getting a million things done walking in 20 directions at once.
Beautifully said. Really well articulated. I can feel the pain and the excitement as you look into 2025.
Right.
Yeah. Followell, it looked like you had a thought. You were just going to speak it.
Lots of thoughts rolling around. The first thought that I have is just to say thank you. Thank you for your service and all those people that are part of your organization and that you serve. First off, let me say you're not alone. Okay. And sometimes it's very comforting to know that you're not in it by yourself. Virtually all entrepreneurs who start go through the exact same thing that you're going through. So know that you're not alone, and that need to push out all the distractions. That is a big thing for everybody, not just entrepreneurs, but for all of us. Have you ever taken the time to look at your day? And if you haven't, and any of my coaching clients that are on know that I do this regularly, make a list of, start across the top of your page, make a list of what is your vision? What is your purpose in life? And just keep that front and center. And then throughout the day, every 15 minutes, write down what you did, and then draw a line and give yourself some margin on the right-hand side. Write down all your distractions. You will be amazed at the number of distractions that you have. And at the end of the day, or a couple of days, whatever you take, go through and see how much time you actually spent doing the things that you said were a part of your vision, a part of your purpose, and how much time did you have during distractions. They say that when you're deep thought and you have a distraction, that it takes like 23 minutes to get back into deep thought. So quickly we can eat up our day with distractions. And so becoming aware first of what those distractions are, give us then the opportunity for us to put obstacles in place or tools in place to put those obstacles so they never make it to us. So great way to just get started is become aware of what those obstacles are so that you can then focus on the important things. Being really intentional about blocking off your calendar throughout the day, you creating your calendar versus your calendar trying to create you and controlling you.
Yeah, really well said, Rob. This reminds me exactly what you're talking about, Rob, is how we just looked at the wheel of life. There's a book that came out. It was actually published in Israel. It was called 60-minute. I will look it up and we'll hopefully put it in the link. It's a very under the radar book. This guy takes the wheel of life and he creates models. So it could be like your wheel that's just about your business. All right. So you would take each slice, might be managing, leadership, whatever. So just as an exercise for you, Rob, in this moment, if you could visualize a wheel that was only for your business, what would some of those pie slices be?
I divide my business activities up into two groups, running the business and working in the business, and then divide those groups into further subgroups. So one of the main points of focus for the last 4 months has been what I call infrastructure and governance. So that's putting the legal framework down, getting banking in order, being able to invoice, things like websites, lead magnets. Now we're starting to move into the marketing and sales piece of the business, right? So we get that going, business cards, branding, right? Websites, that's the foundation for that. And then we pull that forward and we keep going forward. Along the way, relationship building and networking, building referral partners, sales channel development, joining the right types of networking groups, right? That's pipeline and funnel development. So I've been working on that as well. Key to foundation of working on the business. Working in the business.
May I be the rude coach and interrupt you just for one moment?
Go for it.
As you look at those three slices, governance, marketing and advertising, and relationship building, where would you put your dot if that diagram were right in front of you with just those three slices?
Infrastructure is probably 7 or 8 out of 10. Relationships, about a 6 out of 10. What's the third one? I feel like I'm doing them out of order now.
Advertising and marketing.
It's probably a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
What do you want to know from there?
Yeah, can I jump in and ask a question?
Please, tag team it. Absolutely.
So of those three, what would you say is your strong suit? Your strength lies in which one of those slices, or 2 or 3? Maybe it's all of them. Where's your strength?
I'm the best at the infrastructure and governance. That's really easy for me. And
who on your team has those other strengths?
We're talking to the team right now, so that's the answer. We are a very small solopreneurship. So we're partnering on resources to address our weaknesses. So partners on marketing, advertising, et cetera, et cetera.
Good for you. One of the things that I think that especially in the United States, we are all taught that we need to focus on our weaknesses and make them better. And I am a firm believer that when you focus on your weaknesses, the best you can ever get them is just above average. Mm-hmm. But if you lean into the things that are your strengths, then you can be exceptional at that. And so think about those areas of your business that you're weak in. Sometimes we're weak because we have zero experience in those areas. Sometimes that's just not where we're good. Mm-hmm. That's where you can really lean into partnering with outside companies or hiring someone that can do that for you. and you want to make sure that that's their area of strength and expertise, because they can do it better, faster, cheaper, ultimately, than you can. You only have 24 hours in a day.
Mhm.
The same 24 hours as your heroes throughout life, or history. The exact same 24 hours. And so how are you going to spend those? Spend them doing the things that drive you to your purpose and give you the most value.
Yep.
That's tough, especially an entrepreneur.
Well, yeah, there's a point at which we get the infrastructure established, and then we can spend more time in other areas. But there's a great peril if you move forward and don't own your name, and then you get a cease and desist later on and have to rename your business, right? So
Yes.
diligence in the beginning with your attorney, your accountant, et cetera,
Yes.
sets a solid foundation for the development of strategy and all that comes after it. So yeah, I look forward to being able to spend more time doing things that are more directly revenue generating in the very near future.
And you will. You have the vision, it will come.
Rob, other than your business focus now, if we were to take it back to the wheel of life or personal perspective, what other areas of your life are important to you as you look toward 2025?
Well, in 2025, if I did it right, I would be getting back to some form of balance. Because right now, in the first few months of the business, it's 60 to 80 hours a week. Pretty much most of my waking hours, somehow either thinking or directly acting on the growth of the business, constantly networking, engaging people in the government, right? Like LinkedIn is a very, very common pursuit at all hours of the day. So at some point in the near future, 2025, I get back to some balance. I go golfing this year again, right? I re-engage in maybe some more pleasure, more poker games with my friends, more time out to dinner with my wife, right? Like get back to more of a rounded out radar diagram. Right now, we've sacrificed in one direction for clear purpose and intent, right? So,
What is one thing you can put on your calendar to start creating that balance in the next couple of weeks?
I think it's probably connecting with some of my indoor golf buddies and seeing if we're going to join the spring X Golf League on Tuesday or Wednesday nights. So that's early season indoor golf on a simulator. That's a good chance to be outside the house and engage socially and get prepped for summer.
Terrific. So connecting with those friends to see what the next steps are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What else would you like to get out of this conversation?
I didn't really prepare any expectations for this. So it's I don't know. That's kind of challenging to answer. Yeah.
So one of the things that we often do in coaching is that we ask our coaching clients to reflect on the past between sessions. What did they accomplish? What were their challenges? What were their wins? And then what do they want to accomplish in our coaching session? Because the physical act of carving out time to reflect is so valuable. And then planning allows the coach to know where you want to go and prepare some. It's always in the moment, and you can always change, but the first thing it does for you is helps you to center yourself and say, okay, this is what I want to accomplish. And think about that before you come to a coaching session. I know we kind of put you on the spot today.
Yeah.
Thanks for playing along.
Yeah. The other thing I will is just back up exactly what Rob Followell said about time blocking. Uh, it cannot be, it's impossible to overemphasize how important that has been in my life and many of my clients' lives. And I know Rob can say the same. What I like to do is on a Sunday, plan as best as possible my week. And I'll do it on my laptop computer, but then I'll also do it in a planner, so that I have both. The writing of it feels very therapeutic in a way, very grounding. But then having it up on my computer, I've got the visual blocks. So health and fitness is yellow. And so I'll block out whatever the thing I'm going to do. And that even includes, I call it wellness, actually. So that could be, going to a meditation or a massage or something like that. Because I like to see those yellows immersed with all the blues and the greens of appointments throughout the week. It just gives me a feeling of self-care and grounding. And so if you can do something similar to that before your week rolls out, it's just the ultimate in feeling more organized. Down to if you want to get very granular with the time blocking, you're only going to think about, for example, infrastructure between 9 and 9:45, and then you're done. And then the next thing you're going to think about or play with is your advertising for 2 hours, and then you're done. So you are now freeing your mind of all those distractions, all those ping-ponging thoughts. And those are the rules. You follow the rules. You don't have to make any decisions. It's already made for you. You just do the work. And you sit down that day, you've got it all planned out, and it feels ultimately lighter than it would if you had to figure out what you're going to do next, what priority you should pick, etc.
The calendar's pretty full. I do time block pretty well. I really like the idea of color coding it, though, because the feeling I'm left with is that the day was just really busy because all the hours were full, right? So I become a slave to the calendar rather than feeling good about it. But the honest truth of what's in the calendar is there's an hour and a half long block on Wednesday to go to the chiropractor, get outside, and go have lunch out, right? And that's self-care, wellness, right? Color that one yellow. There's other things like that I don't color. So I really like that idea. Thank you for that. That could help me feel better about my calendar.
Yeah. And even let's say there's a movie you and your wife really want to watch on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something. You put that on the calendar and it's orange. Like my entertainment is all orange. I don't know why, but it's like, oh, I have something fun at the end of the day that's orange. It's crazy, but it works. It really does. So I'm glad you like that.
Yeah, super fun.
Intentional.
Yeah.
Intentional.
Well, Rob, thank you so much for volunteering. I loved your comments in the chat. You seem to have a very bright mind, and I'm really happy that it was you that put up your hand to volunteer. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for having me,
Rob.
Thank you very much, Rob, for volunteering. Now, for those of you that were listening, and it seems like Sarah was, she's saying she uses her calendar for everything for this kind of time blocking. Does anyone have a question for Rob? Thank you again for volunteering, Rob, that maybe you think he could reflect on or carry forward as he does this. So if you go ahead and put that in the chat. And let me mention to Rob McGraw, you can take advantage of continuing this conversation with Rob or Jerry. We'll have links for you to schedule a free coaching session with them to continue this conversation. And as Rob Followell mentioned, you'll have the opportunity to reflect and say, okay, what do I want to get out of this after you've tried to put into practice some of the things that we talked about here, maybe you saw in the playbook, and then you could be one-on-one with Rob or Jerry and get some more guidance. So again, if anyone has a question for Rob or an idea for him, feel free to put that in the chat. While we're giving people a moment to that, I want to highlight a few more things I saw Rob Followell and Jerry did. Is you probably noticed at the beginning, they checked in with Rob McGraw and said, kind of, where are you at right now? And top of mind for him was not his personal life, but his business life, right? And they shifted to that. That's the beauty of one-on-one coaching, is that there's no set curriculum. It's all about you and what you bring to the coaching session. So they right away shifted to what was on Rob's mind, what he would find most valuable. So I just thought it was beautiful how both of you did that. And then later you brought in, once you addressed it, some other aspects of his life. And they also provided insights of things that he could consider, not that he has to do, it's all up to Rob, and that he liked the color coding that Jerry brought. What we would also generally ask a client to do is commit to doing something based on the conversation. So since we don't have anyone in the chat right now, giving a question for Rob McGraw. Rob, I'm going to ask you something you might do. Is based on your conversation with Rob Followell and Jerry Anathan, is there anything you'd like to commit to doing? You had talked about maybe planning some of the golf things with your friends. There's some ideas about something you could do with your wife. There was some thoughts about color coding your calendars. Anything you want to commit to doing based on the conversation?
Well, the 4 things that I wrote down were print and complete a wheel of life and do that assessment for myself, write a personal vision statement based on the results of that wheel, and then color code the activities by the life wheel color in my calendar. The final thing was reach out to my golf partners and figure out which league we're going to join and get that to completion as well.
Awesome. Great. And then following this SMART timeline, right, or SMART guidance, is there a certain time frame that you think you could accomplish these goals you just set out?
Most of these are within the next 2 weeks.
Right. Fantastic. So if you set up an appointment with Rob or Jerry, you might want to do it for about 2 weeks from now. And you could touch base with them. And that's usually how we space our coaching sessions, so our clients have an opportunity to follow through on their commitment. And we're not looking for perfection, Rob McGraw. It's just that you tried to do these things, right? Mm-hmm. And then you can talk with your coach about how it turned out. And I saw in the chat that Gerald showed some of his insights about how to look. And Jeffrey has a question of thought. When thinking about what great looks like in relation to your company, I hear you say internal and external, and you clearly have thoughts on each. The suggestion is to prioritize the most important and stay focused. SMART is okay to say no to things that are not priority for that time frame. And that's, I often coach a lot of CEOs, and I think, what are the things that you got? Your to-do list and your to-don't list, right? So what are the things you're not going to do, and consider either not doing those things that aren't important or delegating. And it doesn't have to be an employee to delegate. You can have virtual assistants. You can have people on Fiverr help you that have a lot of expertise. So it might be on your to-don't list, but it could be on someone else's to-do list, right? If it's still an important thing to do. So Jeffrey, thank you for your contribution then. Carl, if we could bring up the follow-up email slide, that'd be great. So for those of you that are participating, just want to remind you that right after we conclude this webinar, a few things are going to happen. One of those things is you're going to get a follow-up email, and in that follow-up email, you're going to get a link to access our Vision and Goals Playbook, which you see the cover pictured on this slide on the left. You'll also get a copy of the PowerPoint slides that Rob and Jerry used for this presentation. And as I mentioned, since you joined us live, you'll have the opportunity to schedule a free coaching session with Rob or Jerry. It could be about setting your vision and goals for 2025, or any topic you choose. As you saw, they were very able to pivot to whatever is most important to a client. Next slide, please. And thank you, Carl. In the chat, also, we have links to those how to schedule with Jerry and Rob. And we'd love to have your feedback. That's something we encourage our clients to do, is to solicit and receive feedback well. We try to model that as a company. So we'd love your feedback. And here you can scan this QR code and get a link to provide us feedback. Also, if I've set it up properly, right after we conclude, you'll see a page to give us an evaluation. It'll be right after we conclude, and we'd love to hear your feedback so that we can do even better next time we do these open coaching sections. Next slide, please. Speaking of the next coaching session coming up in February 7th at noon Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be having a webinar on leading with heart, emotional intelligence for impactful leadership, be led by our colleague Sylvia Before. She is a internationally recognized speaker and presenter, so you're really in for a treat to be able to see her speak. Usually companies pay big bucks to have her come speak to their workforce, and you can access her for free. And also we'll have a playbook that'll help you on leading with emotional intelligence. And it'll be very much similar to this webinar where you'll have an opportunity to be coached by Sylvia. So we encourage you to register for that. And you'll be in the follow-up email, will be a link about how to register for February webinar on the 7th. That's all kind of linking up with Valentine's Day. You can see that subtle heart connection we make in our title. The next slide, please. So the Leadership Coach Group, our team, you've seen Rob, you've seen Jerry, you've seen Carl, and you have Sarah joining us in the webinar. There's many more members of our team. We are here for you in whatever way we can serve you and your company, your organization. We'd love to do that. So there's many ways you can contact us. We've got our telephone number. We have people standing by 24/7 to answer your call. You can reach out to me. That's my direct email address. You can find out more about our company going to leadershipcoachgroup.com. We also have a contact us page there where you can schedule an appointment with me. I'd love to talk with you about any of your leadership development needs and how we can serve you. It'd be our honor to do that. So again, I want to thank Rob Followell, Jerry Anathan, Rob McGraw for joining us and volunteering. I want to thank you all for presenting. I want to thank everyone that joined us. I want to thank Carl Ramos for helping prepare many of the materials and helping us behind the scenes. Carl, thank you for that. But we really love to serve you. So please be in touch with us. Take advantage of that free coaching session with our coaches here. We'd love to continue this conversation. Please let us know if there's anything we can do to serve you. We are here for you. Thank you again. Have a great 2025 filled with success. Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.